Hi everybody, I'm Chris. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Chris.
This makes me very anxious. I'm not really great at public speaking, and I was kind of half joking when I told Eddie I would do this, but then as the days got closer, I just decided I would. So, anyways, it's not any different story. I mean, when I first came in, I was 15. You could still smoke in the rooms. And so it was great. I could get cigarettes from people and I didn't have to really do anything. It kept my parents off my back. And then when they questioned me about smoking, well, I just smelled like smoke because of everybody else. So already early on, I had like ulterior motives. And I grew up in an upper middle class Southern family. It was actually a great childhood. I mean, if you talk to a therapist, they would probably pick all the things out. Like my dad was military. My mom was very religious. But growing up in a really sheltered environment, um, they kept a lot of the bad elements away from us. And so we had every opportunity. We had everything that you could want, and with even promises of going to college and everything. And so my brother early on got into drugs, and he ended up leaving the picture, which was great for me because there was a huge struggle in the house between me and him. We were both adopted. I was adopted out of an abusive foster family, and my brother was adopted at like 7 days old. So all the hell that he raised about it, I didn't understand because he literally came home as a brand new baby to them. I early on started out in a pretty tough environment. So I was really fortunate to end up where I did. So um, I had a pretty good relationship with my parents because with my dad kind of being the good old boy, military, drinking was actually okay as long as your grades were good. Um, it didn't matter. You were respectful. You could go out with your buddies on the weekend, and I lived in a small southern community, so we drove all over the community and the back roads and everything. So there really wasn't any consequences. I took off to college, and then that's where it started. That's where then the alcohol was unlimited. I was away from home. I got a DUI right out of the gate, and I actually got asked to leave college because the university I went to had this really beautiful flower, huge thing with the college name and all the flowers on it. And I drove my car all the way through it, and so my dad had to actually pay to have that all repaired. And it was more than that. I just decided I didn't want to do it anymore. I just didn't want to do college, and that was a huge blow to my family because for one, I was going to be the first one going, and we weren't really a college family. I came from a pretty affluent family, but it was because my dad worked his ass off and had one of the main businesses in the town I grew up in, and I was friends with all of the business owners' kids and stuff, and so he was really disappointed. He just, plus having the kind of the military mentality, he just saw a big failure. But it was a little late because I was involved with a girl from the town that I dated all through high school. We were high school sweethearts, and we went off to college together. And our parents were just giving us hell about living together and it being religious. And her family was pretty up there too, and they were gonna cut us off because they were pretty much paying for our apartment because we were living together and we had cars that they had bought us. And so, life wasn't that hard. So we decided, let's get married. We'll get married. So we had this great big wedding, and the pictures were interesting because, it's just like these two kids. It's just really interesting with just this huge entourage. And, we were so different. Her too. So we got married, and we went back to college. And wasn't very long. I was going to go into community college then, trying to get some kind of sales or marketing out. I wanted to go into nursing, but gay guy, guys weren't nurses in my environment. So, I was going to get a boy job, and I had an affair, and I actually got caught in that affair, and it was just like the TV. She walked in, everything, all hell broke loose. We were both so mentally disconnected anyway. It wasn't that hard to part, other than because she wanted to save face and not tell anybody what had happened. So we told the whole family that I did have an affair, but it wasn't with a man, it was with a woman. Of course, my dad didn't think that was that big a deal. He's like, he was actually a little upset with her. He's like, you should forgive my son. This is, ridiculous. These are great families. You have a little kid. My daughter was 18 months old at the time. And she said no. And I was glad she said no. I begged her not to, but looking back, I was glad she stepped up and said no. She got some counseling, and back in the 90s, all they were really saying was, your husband's just gay. There's nothing to work with here. If you want to put yourself through a bunch of this and that, then go for it. But really, we're recommending. And then she didn't have to push me that hard, because she pretty much, bless her heart, she did back me up against the wall. She said she'd tell everyone if I didn't give her full custody. And I agreed to a pretty steep child support that my parents helped compensate that for years and years. So anyways, I just went all the way through those years, just kind of trying to see my kid, not really working in and out of bars and peep show clubs. I moved to the big city. Mild sex work, just, it was like whatever. It didn't seem dirty. It was just, but what my friends were doing. I was in my 20s. I looked really great. I had all this energy and just thought everything was great. And then hit my 30s, and my dad started getting sick. And so that kind of changed the dynamic. And he ended up becoming terminal. And I think all of my brother and my sister and I, we just got really lost, because he was the captain of the ship. At every holiday, he had a seat at the table. He carved the turkeys. He was God. And he passed with having it together. And my brother was still really wild at the time. And my sister was the one that stepped up, became power of attorney. My mother really kind of fell apart. And then when she started to get it together, and she got terminal bone cancer, and within 3 years of my dad dying, my mom was dead. And I didn't really know what to do. I had a whole slew of train wreck boyfriends, and I kind of at the time just decided to be asexual. I thought sex, in every capacity that I had ever had it, was not pleasurable. It was used for a variety of manipulation and all kinds of reasons, and I never got much pleasure out of it. So I just decided that I wanted to give that part up. And at the time, my daughter at the time, my son is transgender, and he's now my son Alex. And so we were in Wenatchee. He was in Train High School. I got a DUI, a really nasty DUI on the main street of Wenatchee, and I crashed into a parked car at like 1:30 in the morning. And they threw the book at me. I spent 6 months in county jail in Chelan County, which that was some. I can't even. That was some. Um, um, and then I got out, But while I was in there, my son came, and I was all excited for the visit. And he told me that he didn't want me in his life anymore, that he had figured it all out, and he didn't like what he was seeing. And he wanted me to leave him alone until I got sober. And that didn't just mean, a few little things here and there. He wanted, I lost time. Okay. And, and so I left him alone. I went into treatment. I'll speed this up. I went into treatment in Wenatchee. My parents had paid for these really luxurious treatment centers, but when my sister became power of attorney, she said absolutely not. And my brother and I both had little allowances that we were kind of getting, and she stopped that. And she told me that she would pay for Wenatchee, which was like $1,200 compared to like the $15,000 and $20,000 ones I went to, and it was very different in itself too. I mean, it was like real. And counselors just started telling me, "You're gonna die. Your kid doesn't want you." And it took a lot to get through to me because I just was still living that Southern 17-year-old. My dad will fix everything, and this thought I just didn't understand. But I did what they said. I went through the program. I actually went through it twice because they kept me because they thought I needed more. And they knew I had a mental issue. And there was a program through Pioneer Services here in Seattle. And it was a 5-month co occurring where they strip you of your meds because I was on meds, and they strip you of your meds and you live there and you're like in pajamas. And so I decided to do that. So when they kept me another like 23 days. So I was actually there for like over a month. Drove me, put me on the bus. That place picked me up, and I just started. It was rough there too. I did that. I went into Pioneer's aftercare program, and I had like multiple roommates relapse. I got the HIN program, and I just started building up. And so fast forward, I met Eddie in the program. I was 8 months sober, I think. I met him, and got it kind of cleared with my sponsor, and I had been just to finish my step work. And we met, and I stayed sober for about 7, 8 years, I think. I don't remember really. A couple years ago, we went on a cruise, and I went on an excursion by myself, and it was so easy. We showed up, and it was like a beach day, and him and my son went snorkeling, and I just walked up to the bar and had a rum and coke. It was that easy. And then they came off their excursion, and there I'm sitting at a bar by the ship having a beer, and then proceeded to drink through the cruise, which, praise God, nothing happened like it used to. And that's what's different now, is nothing happened. Eddie and I had a little talk. I stopped. I have a pretty busy job that does not, you can't be like you used to do. So I thought, ever since then I was playing with the idea of drinking, and I just thought wine sounded good. We're in wine country. Eddie and I kind of talked about it. I don't know that we really talked about it. I just told him that's what I wanted to do. To be honest with you, I was getting a little tired of running everything by a spouse. We've been together a while, and I felt like I wanted to drink some wine. I had done my time. I ended up having to do other things to get my license back and to get my medical license. I had to actually go back to jail for another month and a half because I had violated 11 years ago my probation. And talk about hard. Being 3 years ago, I had to walk. I had to drive to Omak. Eddie drove me, and I turned myself in and did 53 days to wrap this whole bullshit up. And that's kind of my point. I'm not really doing anything right now because I'm tired. What got me back in here was 7 weeks ago. Eddie was on an AA thing, and I don't even remember what it was. And I don't even really know what happened. I just remember him kind of coming home. My ankle was extremely damaged and swollen, and I had the dogs. And that's kind of what happened. I went to the emergency room. They fixed my leg. We kind of have talked about it. He's left me alone, and now I'm just trying to figure out how I want to approach it, to be honest with you, because I'm burned out, I'm tired. fuck, that's just what's going on, with the job, the dogs, Eddie, my son, life. I'm trying to find a way to edge in a little AA, I guess, you know. Um, that's it, I guess.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well done.